The red dust of Mars swirled around James Miller's boots as he carefully brushed away centuries of dirt from what looked like an ordinary rock formation. The sun was setting behind the rusty hills, casting long shadows across the dig site. James had spent the last 3 months at this location, searching for signs of ancient civilizations that might have visited Mars before humans arrived. Just another hour, he muttered to himself, adjusting his helmet's oxygen reading. The other members of his team had already returned to the research base, but something about this particular spot kept drawing him back. His tools revealed more of the strange formation, and then he saw it glint of something that definitely wasn't natural to Mars. His heart began to beat faster as he cleared away more dust. There, buried in the red soil, was a bottle unlike anything he had ever seen. It seemed to be made of crystal, but it flowed like liquid starlight. Strange markings covered its surface, glowing faintly in the dim evening light. Base, this is Miller, he called through his radio. I found something. Something big. Copy that, Miller, came the reply. Do you need backup? James stared at the bottle, his archaeological training fighting with his curiosity. No, I can handle this. Just logging the discovery. He carefully lifted the bottle from its resting place. It was surprisingly warm to the touch, even through his gloves. The proper procedure would be to document everything, take photos, mark the location, and bring it back to the lab for testing. But as he held it, the markings began to glow brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. This can't be what I think it is, he whispered to himself. Stories from Earth's past flooded his mind. Tales of genies and wishes, magical bottles and ancient powers. But those were just stories, weren't they? His gloved hands trembled as he examined the stopper. It was sealed with what looked like liquid metal, but as soon as his fingers touched it, it began to move. Before he could stop himself, he twisted it open. The effect was immediate and spectacular. A stream of light erupted from the bottle, not smoke like in the old stories, but pure starlight that twisted and turned in impossible ways. James fell backward, his heart pounding in his chest as the light began to take shape. A figure formed before him, floating several feet off the ground. She, for it was clearly feminine in form, was made of the same starlight as the bottle, her hair flowing as if underwater, her eyes containing entire galaxies. She stretched like someone waking from a very long sleep. Well, she said, her voice somehow clear despite his helmet. This is certainly a new one. I don't believe I've ever been awakened on Mars before. She looked around with interest, though I must say it's gone downhill since I was last here. James tried to speak, but his voice failed him. The being noticed his struggle and smiled kindly. Oh, don't worry, I can understand you even with that protective gear you're wearing. I am Lumina, and you, my dear discoverer, have earned yourself 3 wishes. She paused, studying him more closely. Though you're quite different from my usual finders, most species I encounter have progressed much further technologically before reaching their nearby planets. Finally finding his voice, James managed to ask, You're real, an actual genie? Lumina laughed, the sound like crystal wind chimes. Genie is such a simple term, but yes, that's what many cultures have called me. I am a cosmic being bound to serve the wishes of those who free me from my vessel. She floated closer, examining his spacesuit with curiosity. Now shall we proceed with your wishes? I must warn you, in all my billions of years I've heard every possible wish. Immortality, unlimited power, control over time. Itself, she waved her hand dismissively. Though I admit being found by a species, still using primitive protective gear. Like this is refreshing. James stood there, his mind racing with questions through his helmet's face. Plate, he stared at the beautiful cosmic being floating before him, knowing that this moment would change everything, not just for him but for all of humanity. The sun disappeared behind the Martian hills, leaving them in twilight, illuminated only by luminous ethereal glow and the distant stars that suddenly seemed much closer than before. James sat cross-legged on the Martian surface, still trying to process the reality of the situation. Lumina floated nearby, her starlit form casting a soft glow over the red rocks around them. His oxygen meter showed he had 40 minutes left, plenty of time for a conversation that would change his understanding of the universe forever. You seem unusually calm, Lumina noted, watching him with her galaxy-filled eyes. Most beings who find me immediately start shouting their wishes. I have so many questions, James replied, his voice filled with wonder. How many civilizations have you met? What were they like? Have any of them survived to the present day? Lumina tilted her head, surprised by his curiosity. She moved closer, her form shifting like flowing water made of stars. In all my existence, no one has asked about my experiences first. They usually just want their wishes granted. That seems wasteful, James said. You must have seen so much history, so many different worlds and species. Each one probably had their own culture, their own dreams. He paused, looking up at the starlit sky. Did any of them ever try to understand you? For a moment, Lumina was silent. When she spoke again, her voice carried a weight of countless years. No, to them I was a tool, a means to power. Nothing more. She created small images in the air, beings of various shapes and sizes, all demanding their wishes. Some wanted to rule galaxies, others wanted to destroy their enemies. Many asked for immortality, not understanding its curse. James asked, genuinely interested. Watching everyone you love die, century after century. Seeing your world change until you no longer recognize it. Lumina sighed, her light dimming slightly. But they never thought that far ahead. They only saw the power, never the price. James nodded thoughtfully. How long have you been doing this? Granting wishes, I mean. Since before your solar system formed. Lumina answered. I've seen stars born and die. I've watched countless civilizations rise and fall, some through their own wishes, others through natural causes. She created another image showing the birth and death of a star. Time is different for me. Your entire species' existence is but a blink in my timeline. That sounds incredibly lonely, James said softly. Lumina froze, her light flickering like a candle in the wind. Lonely. She repeated the word as if hearing it for the first time. I've never thought about it that way. Between wishes, I sleep in the bottle. When I'm awake, I grant wishes. That's my purpose. But is that what you want? James asked. Do you enjoy it? Again, Lumina was silent, her form shimmering with uncertainty. Want, enjoy. These are not concepts that apply to beings like me. I exist to serve, to grant wishes. It's what I am. Everyone should have the right to want things, James insisted, to make their own choices, to be free. Free? Lumina laughed, but there was no joy in it. I am bound by magic older than your planet. This is my nature, my purpose. Even the mightiest empires I've served couldn't change that. She looked at him curiously. Yet you speak of freedom as if it were the most natural thing in the universe. James checked his oxygen meter. 20 minutes left. Maybe that's what makes humans different, he said. We believe everyone deserves freedom, deserves a chance to choose their own path. Interesting, Lumina mused, studying him more intently. In all my billions of years, I've never encountered a species quite like yours. She moved closer, her light pulsing gently. Most beings see me and think of power, of wealth, of control. You see me and think of freedom. I see someone who's been serving others for far too long, James replied simply. Lumina's light flickered again, and for a brief moment James thought he saw something in those galaxy-filled eyes, a spark of hope quickly hidden behind centuries of resignation. Your time grows short, she said, gesturing to his oxygen meter. Perhaps we should discuss your wishes before you must return to your base. James stood up, brushing the Martian dust from his suit. His mind was already made up about his first wish, but that could wait until they were somewhere safer. Would you come back to the base with me? We can talk more there. Lumina nodded, her form condensing slightly to follow him. As they walked toward the human settlement, both were lost in thought, James planning his wish and Lumina wondering why. For the first time in countless millennia, she felt something stirring in her ancient heart. Curiosity about what would happen next. Inside the Mars base's secure meeting room, James sat across from Lumina, who hovered gracefully above the chair offered to her. The room's white walls glowed with her starlight presence, creating dancing shadows that moved like cosmic waves. Through the room's large window, the Martian sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and orange. The base commander and a small team of scientists watched from behind a safety barrier, their faces showing a mixture of fear and amazement. They had nearly fainted when James walked in with a being made of living starlight. So Lumina said, her voice carrying the echo of distant stars, now that we're in your dwelling, shall we proceed with your first wish? She had explained to the others about the 3 wishes, causing excitement. Whispers among the scientists. James nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the cosmic being before him. I've been thinking about this since our talk outside. He glanced at his fellow humans, then back to Lumina. Before I make my wish, I want to confirm something. Can you grant any wish within the universe's laws? Almost anything, Lumina replied, creating small galaxies between her fingers as she spoke. I cannot create or destroy love, bring back the dead, or alter the fundamental laws of existence. But power, wealth, knowledge, immortality, these are all within my capabilities. She paused, studying him. Though something tells me you're not interested in those things. James smiled. You're right, I have a different kind of wish in mind. He stood up, his heart pounding with the weight of what he was about to do. Lumina, I wish for your freedom from Eternal servitude, the room fell. Completely silent, even the humming of the base's life support system seemed to pause. Lumina's light flickered violently, her form wavering like a candle in a storm. What did you say?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I wish for you to be free," James repeated firmly. "No more bottle, no more forced servitude, no more granting wishes for others. Just freedom to choose your own path." Lumina's form began to pulse with intense light. The scientists shielded their eyes as the room filled with colors that had no names in human languages, in billions of years, countless wishes, thousands of civilizations. Her voice cracked with emotion. "No one has ever wished for my freedom." Suddenly, the crystal bottle on the table began to crack. Golden light poured from the breaks, wrapping around Lumina like chains, becoming visible for the first time. One by one, these chains of ancient magic began to shatter. It's working," Lumina gasped. Her form grew brighter with each broken chain. "The bindings, they're breaking." The bottle exploded into stardust, and with it the last of the magical chains dissolved. Lumina's light changed, becoming deeper, richer, more alive. She floated down until her feet touched the floor, the first time she had ever done so. "By Joyce, I'm free," she whispered, looking at her hands in wonder. "After all this time, I'm actually free." Tears of liquid starlight rolled down her cheeks, each one containing the light of a newborn star. James approached her carefully. "How do you feel?" Lumina looked at him, her galaxy eyes wide with emotion. "I feel everything. Joy, fear, hope, uncertainty. Emotions I wasn't allowed to feel before." She reached out and touched his hand, her touch warm like sunlight. "Why? Why would you use your wish for this?" "Because no one should be enslaved," James said simply. "Not even cosmic beings who can grant wishes." The base commander finally found her voice. But what about the other two wishes?" Lumina straightened up, her light pulsing with newfound strength. "There will be no more wishes. The magic that bound me is broken. I am no longer a genie. I am just myself for the first time since the universe was young." She turned to James, her form shimmering with gratitude. "You gave up incredible power, knowledge, immortality, anything you could have wished for just to free me." James smiled. "Some things are more important than power. This was the right thing to do." Lumina looked around the room, seeing it with truly free eyes for the first time. "So this is what freedom feels like," she said softly. "I never knew it would be so beautiful." The Martian night had fallen, but inside the room, Lumina's newfound freedom lit up the darkness brighter than any star. The news of Lumina's freedom spread through the Mars base like wildfire. Within hours of her liberation, the small research station became the center of attention for both Mars colonies and Earth. Scientists, leaders, and curious onlookers all wanted to know about the cosmic being who was no longer bound to grant wishes. Lumina sat in the base's observation dome, watching the stars with new eyes. Her light had changed since her freedom. It was softer now, more natural, like moonlight on a clear night. James brought her a cup of hot chocolate, something she had never experienced before. "The humans in charge want to talk to you," he said, sitting beside her. "Earth's governments are going crazy trying to figure out what to do about your existence." Lumina touched the warm cup, fascinated. By its simple pleasure, they're afraid. Of me, aren't they? She asked. They think that without the binding magic, I might be dangerous. Some of them do. James admitted, people fear what they don't understand, and you're probably the least understandable being we've ever met. Through the dome's windows they could see 3 transport ships landing. Nearby, more officials arriving to investigate the situation. The base had never been so busy. I could leave, Lumina said quietly. I have that choice now. I could go anywhere in the universe, see things I've only heard about in the wishes of others. She looked at James, her galaxy, eyes swirling with new emotions. But I don't want to, not yet. James smiled. You're welcome to stay as long as you like. Though I should warn you, those scientists out there are going to have millions of questions. As if on cue, Dr. Roberts, the base's lead scientist, entered the dome. She carried a tablet filled with readings from their instruments. Lumina, your energy signature is unlike anything we've ever seen. It's not just light. It's something more fundamental. She paused, looking excited. You could help us understand the universe in ways we never imagined. Lumina stood, her form rippling with interest. Your curiosity. It reminds me of James when he first found me. No demands, just questions and wonder. She moved to look at the tablet's readings. Perhaps I could help you understand some things. But she straightened up, her light pulsing gently. I will do it because I choose to, not because I must. The base commander joined them, looking nervous. Earth's Security Council is demanding answers. They want to know if you're a threat, if there are more like you, if I am not a threat, Lumina interrupted, her voice firm but kind. I have seen countless civilizations rise and fall. If I wished harm to any species, I had billions of years to cause it. She created a small display of light showing various alien races she had encountered. What I want now is to learn what it means to be free, to make my own choices. James watched as Lumina spoke with growing confidence. She was no longer the bound servant he had found in that bottle. She was becoming something new, something that had never existed before, a cosmic being, learning to be herself. More officials filled the dome, their voices mixing with the hum of instruments and cameras. Everyone wanted to see her, to ask questions, to understand what she was. But through it all, Lumina remained calm, answering what she chose to answer, staying silent when she wished. They're calling you the Mars miracle on the news, James told her, showing her headline on his tablet. You're probably the biggest discovery in human history. Lumina smiled, a gesture she was still getting used to. The real miracle was finding someone who would wish for my freedom. She looked out at the growing crowd of humans. Your species is so young, so full of questions and dreams. Perhaps that's why you were the ones to finally free me. As the Martian night deepened, Lumina continued to answer questions, learned about human culture, and explore her new freedom. For the first time in her eternal existence, she wasn't just observing life, she was living it. And that, she decided, was better than all the wishes she had ever granted. 1 month had passed since Lumina's liberation. The Mars base had been transformed into a center for cultural exchange, with one room specifically dedicated to sharing stories between humans and their cosmic guest. The walls of this room were covered with holographic displays, showing scenes from both human history and Lumina's vast experiences today. James sat with a group of scientists and historians as Lumina shared another tale. From her past, her starlight form created vivid images in the air as she spoke. There was once a civilization. She began crafting an image of crystal cities floating in the air that lived in the Andromeda galaxy. They had mastered gravity itself, building entire worlds that danced between the stars. The image showed beings of pure energy moving through their floating cities. What happened to them? A young scientist asked, taking notes eagerly. Lumina's light dimmed slightly. Their ruler found my bottle. He wished for the power to control time itself. She paused, the images showing a magnificent civilization crumbling. He didn't understand that controlling time meant experiencing every moment at once. It drove him mad, and his civilization fell into chaos. James watched as the other humans absorbed this information. They had learned dozens of similar stories over the past month, tales of powerful civilizations that had fallen because of their own wishes. But humans, Lumina continued, her light brightening. You're different. You have technology that would seem primitive to many species I've met, yet you understand things they never did. She created an image of Earth and its colonies on Mars. You value freedom, not just power. You ask questions instead of making demands. Dr. Roberts raised her hand. We've learned so much from your stories about physics and space travel, but what about you? What have you learned from us? Lumina thought for a moment, her form shifting like starlight on water. I've learned about music, she said, creating an image of an orchestra. In all my existence, no other species share their art with me. They only wanted what I could give them. She created a series of musical notes in light. I've learned about food, though I don't need to eat. I've learned about dancing, about laughter, about choosing what to do with your time, and pizza, James added with a smile. You seem particularly fascinated by pizza. Everyone laughed, including Lumina, whose laugh now sounded more natural, more human. Yes, the concept of food for pleasure, not just survival. It's uniquely human. Many species I met sought eating as simply refueling. A historian spoke up. Next, can you tell us about the oldest civilization you remember? Lumina created a new image showing beings of pure thought who existed before solid matter. They were ancient when your galaxy was young. They wished for perfect logic to remove all emotion from their existence. Image showed these beings fading away. They got their wish, but without emotion, they lost their desire to exist. They simply stopped being. The room fell silent, contemplating this fate. Then James asked, do you regret any of the wishes you were forced to grant? Lumina's form pulsed with emotion. I wasn't allowed to regret before. The magic binding me prevented such feelings. She created an image of her bottle, then shattered it. Now I can feel sadness for those who destroyed themselves with their wishes. But I also feel joy at being here, learning and sharing with your species. As the session continued, more humans arrived to listen. They brought music, showed videos of Earth's nature, shared stories of human triumphs and failures. Lumina absorbed it all, her light changing colors with each new experience. Your species makes mistakes, she observed, creating an image of human history, both good and bad. But you learn from them. You change, you grow. Many civilizations I met thought they were perfect. That's why they stopped growing. The day turned to evening, but nobody wanted to leave. They kept sharing stories, asking questions, learning from each other. Lumina's freedom had opened not just her own world, but had given humanity a chance to see itself through the eyes of an ancient cosmic being. And what she saw in humanity gave her hope for the future, both hers and theirs. 3 months after her freedom, Lumina stood at the edge of Olympus, Mons, the largest mountain in the solar system. Her starlight form glowed against the dark Martian sky. James stood beside her in his protective suit, watching as she created small constellations with her fingers. I can feel them, she said softly. Other bottles, other bound ones like I used to be. They're scattered across the universe, waiting to be found. She turned to James, her galaxy eyes swirling with purpose. I could find them, free them. James watched as she painted the sky with places where her kind might be trapped. You're thinking of leaving, he said. It wasn't a question. I have the power to travel anywhere now, Lumina replied, her light pulsing gently. I could cross galaxies in moments, search every corner of space. She paused, looking at the human who had changed her existence forever. But I don't want to go alone. Lumina created an image of Earth and its growing space colonies. Humanity is just beginning its journey to the stars. You have so much potential, so much to offer the universe. She smiled, her light brightening. Perhaps we could help each other. James looked surprised. What do you mean? I propose a partnership, Lumina said, her form expanding with excitement. I can help humanity reach the stars safely, and humans can help free others like me. Together, we could change the universe. Back at the base, Lumina presented her idea to Earth's leaders through a video conference. Her presence filled the communication room with gentle starlight. As she spoke, I know where ancient civilizations left their artifacts, she explained. I know safe routes through space, places to find resources, and ways to avoid dangers. I choose to share this knowledge with humanity. The base commander spoke up. But why us? Why not just go on your own? You have the power. Lumina created an image of her millennia of servitude. Power isn't everything. Humanity taught me that. She looked at James. One human with compassion did more good than countless beings with ultimate power. That's why I choose to stay and help. The scientists in the room began talking excitedly about the possibilities. With Lumina's knowledge, human space exploration could advance by centuries. They could avoid mistakes that had destroyed other civilizations. There's something else, Lumina added, her light shifting to a deeper blue. I've sensed changes in myself since being freed. My powers aren't infinite anymore. They're changing, becoming different. She demonstrated by creating more solid, less ethereal forms. I'm becoming something new, something that has never existed before, and I want to understand what I'm becoming. James stepped forward. You're becoming yourself, he said simply. Maybe for the first time ever. Lumina nodded. Exactly. And I want to do that here with humans. While helping you reach the stars, I can discover who I really am. The Earth leaders discussed among themselves, but the decision seemed obvious to everyone in the room. Humanity would gain an invaluable guide to the cosmos, and Lumina would gain companions in her journey of self-discovery. Think of what we could achieve together, she said, creating images of possible futures, human colonies among the stars, peaceful meetings with other civilizations, the freeing of other cosmic beings like herself. We'll need to plan carefully, the base commander said. Set up protocols, establish communication systems, create safety measures. Luminous light danced with joy. Of course, I have eternity to help, and now I can choose how to use it. As the humans began making plans, James watched Lumina interact with them. She was different now, still magnificent and powerful, but also more real, more present. She wasn't just observing life anymore, she was truly living it. Thank you, she said to him quietly, her light soft and warm, for showing me that freedom isn't just about power, it's about choices. And I choose to be here helping humanity reach its potential. Outside the base, the Martian sunset painted the sky in shades of red and gold, a beautiful backdrop to the beginning of this new chapter in both human and cosmic history. 5 years had passed since that fateful day on Mars when James freed Lumina. The solar system had changed dramatically in those years. Humanity's first deep space vessel, appropriately named Wishmaker, hovered near Jupiter's orbit, preparing for its first jump beyond the solar system. James stood on the bridge of the Wishmaker, now wearing a captain's uniform. Beside him, Lumina's form glowed softly, her starlight now mixed with subtle shades of blue and gold, colors she had chosen for herself. Another small freedom she cherished. The 7th bottle was found yesterday, she said, creating a map of their discoveries across the solar system. Search teams had found more vessels containing beings like her. Each one had been freed with the same careful respect that James had shown Lumina. How's your sister settling in on Mars? James asked, referring to Ager, the most recently freed cosmic being. Like Lumina, each freed being had chosen to stay and help humanity, fascinated by the species that offered them freedom. Instead of demanding wishes, she's teaching the scientists about ancient mathematics, Lumina replied, smiling. She says humans are quick learners, even if they take too many notes. Ship's crew worked around them, preparing for the historic jump. Thanks to Lumina's guidance, humans had learned to bend space in ways their science hadn't thought possible. The Wishmaker was powered by a combination of human engineering and cosmic knowledge, perfect symbol of their partnership. Remember when you first found me? Lumina asked, her light pulsing with memory. I thought you would wish for power or immortality like all the others, James laughed. Instead, you got stuck with humans and their endless questions. Best thing that ever happened to me, she said warmly. Her form had become more defined over the years, able to switch between pure starlight and a more solid appearance at will. She had chosen to keep her galaxy eyes, though, a reminder of her cosmic nature. The ship's commander approached them. We're ready for the jump, Captain. All systems are go. James nodded and turned to Lumina. Would you like to do the honors? You're the reason we're here. Lumina moved to the center of the bridge around the solar system. Millions watched through video feeds as she began to glow brighter. Once I was bound to grant the wishes of others, she said, her voice carrying to all who Watched, now I help make humanity's dreams come true by choice. And that makes all the difference. She raised her hands, and space itself seemed to bend around the wishmaker. Through the viewport they could see their destination, Alpha Centauri, humanity's first step into the wider galaxy. We've detected another bottle near our destination, one of the crew members reported, just like Lumina predicted. James smiled. The mission had two purposes: exploration and liberation. They would find these cosmic beings and free them, building a bridge between humanity and the ancient powers of the universe. You know what the other species call humans now? Lumina asked, maintaining the space bend with practiced ease. The liberators. They can't understand why you free us instead of using our power. Maybe someday they'll understand that freedom is more powerful than any wish. James replied. The ship's engines hummed as they prepared for the jump. Around them the crew, a mixture of scientists, explorers, and dreamers, watched in excitement. This moment would be remembered in human history forever, their first step into the galaxy, guided by beings they had chosen to free rather than enslave. Ready for another adventure? James asked Lumina. Her light sparkled with joy. Always, though I'm not your genie anymore. I'm something better. I'm your friend. With a flash of light and a bend in space, the wishmaker made its historic jump. As they traveled faster than any humans had before, Lumina created a small display showing their journey so far, from a simple bottle in the Martian dust to this moment of interstellar travel. And to think, she said softly, it all started with a wish for freedom. As they emerged near Alpha Centauri, the cosmos spread out before them, full of possibilities, discoveries, and more beings waiting to be freed. It was the beginning of a new era, one where humanity's compassion would change the very fabric of the universe, one freed genie at a time.